I want to talk about the amount of love that was in your family when you lived in Trinidad and the experiences you had coming over to England, not all of which were great. Even though your father is an acclaimed jazz saxophonist, were they nervous, tentative about the steps that you were taking towards that career?
My father always encouraged me to perform, and I always remember him saying that when I was 15 months old, he took me on a gig, and apparently I got onto the stage and told everybody to stop dancing. I said, stop, stop, stop. You're not dancing properly. This is how you dance. I was 15 months. When I was about 12, 13 years old, I auditioned for him to sing with his jazz band. Again, to go up and sing, I've got you under my skin. At 12, can you imagine? Being able to get up and stand up and do that because of my father. So when I got the audition and wanted to go into show business, my mother said, I bring all you to educate. I bring all you to England to educate all you, and you're going to go singing and dancing in show business? No way. You're going to have a proper job. You got a proper job in a bank. You stay in the bank. And my father said, Molotov, because my mother was very explosive. Molotov, let the girl do it. Give her a chance. So I got the bank to give me 6 months leave of absence so I could go off and do the show, knowing I could go back to the bank. So I'm a just in case person. So just in case it didn't work out, I knew I could go back to the bank. And my dad begged my mum to let me go into show business. And that's how my career started. Because my mum always said to us to do a good job, be confident about who you are. For instance, when I first did hair, I had 2 words, oy vey. But I said it as if I was the star of the show. I wasn't jealous of the people who were the stars of the show. I knew I was a star in my own right. And that's what I've always taken with me. I've taken that confidence to do the best job I can. And if I came across obstacles or adversity within show business, because as a black actress you do, I just thought, they can't see how good I am. It'll happen in time. When I got into play school, I said to the producers, now listen, Cynthia darling, I'm telling the stories. I'm using my Trinidadian accent sometimes, but yet all the imagery we see on the screen are all white. Can't we have some black and Asian and Chinese faces as well? And she said, oh my goodness, we hadn't noticed. I am there to make people notice.
What was it in the late 80s that made you want to sort of move more into the larger area of production?
I really felt this need to create myself, to be not to be in charge, but to have my stamp of programming for children. But then I met Rosemary Shepherd at Channel 4. She said, yeah, come with your ideas. So I took everything I learned from the theatre, from being in the studio, from watching people work, to bringing that into my production. And we've made some incredible programs across the world, shown across the world. What I tried to do with my production company was to show diversity in a way that is acceptable. Because I know I'm told that I'm loved. And I know I'm only loved because I was given the opportunity to be in people's homes and in people's hearts and people's minds from being on television through Play School. If you give other people the opportunities and chances to come into your life, you realize there's no need to be afraid of differences. And I believe in inclusive television, inclusive production. So when you see the productions, you can see yourself.
This idea of what BAFTA is and what BAFTA is for you, what was it in 1991 when you were approached, when you joined? How did you perceive BAFTA then?
Well, I just saw BAFTA as something that you saw on television, all the stars came out and were honoured. I did go to BAFTA once because Play School was nominated for a BAFTA, but we didn't get it. And in the toilet, I met Barbara Streisand and Raquel Welch. Because at that time, BAFTA, film and television were actually honoured together at the Grosvenor House. And so I was so excited to actually go there and be part of all this and get that feeling, and being part of something that was wonderful and great, even though we didn't win the BAFTA that year for Play School. And so I seen BAFTA from afar, from the outside, with your nose pressed up against the window, wishing that you could be part of it.
If you could talk a little bit about the first 4 years, sort of 1991 through to 1995. Did you have this idea that, yes, BAFTA can give you this, but you can give an enormous amount back?
Definitely. I could see that something was missing in BAFTA. I was one of the few women involved in BAFTA at that time, and I could see that they needed to have a different voice. And so I tried to come up with ideas to bring in new people to BAFTA, people who never would have thought of joining BAFTA. Now is a huge waiting list. You can't become a member of BAFTA. But at that time, we were desperate for people. We were desperate for a different voice. And that's what I thought I could bring to BAFTA. And I could always see that if you give people opportunities and give people a voice, BAFTA could move on to the next level. And I felt as if I was part instrumental in bringing BAFTA on to the next level of where it should be, bringing people in who, like me in years gone by, had your nose pressed up against the window thinking I could never be part of that.
A challenge arrives in 1996 at BAFTA, the idea of the possibility of having a separate children's award. You were instrumental in creating what's essentially a new landscape at BAFTA with the Children Awards.
When you go to the Children's Awards now, you think, my goodness, hasn't this always been like this? Suddenly we had our own awards where we can, celebrate all the creativity that we were producing for children. And it was a wonderful evening. I'll never forget it. I was the presenter that evening and bring everybody up on the stage. And I sat there thinking, who would have thought? We did it. Finally, you knew that if you did any kind of entertainment program, you'd be there. It wouldn't be just Blue Peter. It would be normally Blue Peter and News Round. That's what normally was the normal, who was it going to be? Toss a coin. Who was it going to be this year? And so what happened was you got people from the children's industry to sit around the table to say what they felt, when you had the BAFTA juries, what they felt was a good children's program, was a good preschool program, because, there was no play school up against Blue Peter. It was very tough.
Yep.
But if you have play school up against all other preschool programs, you can then pick out which is the best preschool program, which is the best older children's program, which is the best film, which is the best, so many different genres we have within children's. And that's why it was important for us to make sure that every single person who is involved in children's is celebrated.
We get to 2004 and you receive the BAFTA Special Award. That must have been nice.
I'm telling you, sometimes you don't look for praise. You don't look for honours. You don't look for awards. But when they come, it makes you sit back and reflect. And that night, I felt I was floating. That night, I felt my peers were sitting before me. I got a standing ovation. And I thought, it was worth it. It was worth all the struggles, all the challenges, all the adversity I'd had to face to get to where I am in life. Because when I first came to Britain, I was told, you're not wanted. I was spat upon. So go back to where you come from. When I got the award that night, I realised that had I believed what they were telling me, I wouldn't be standing there receiving my BAFTA.
Could you just talk a little bit about how you now feel BAFTA's changed and where you see BAFTA going and where you see BAFTA should go in the future?
I think BAFTA has changed enormously since the day I arrived on that doorstep. If BAFTA is to exist for the future, they need to be all embracing, to be inclusive, to make people feel, yes, I am part of this great organisation.
When you're filming it, do you go, yeah, this is a good series, this could be a winner?
It's not necessarily us, it's the editors. When they get it back to the editing suite and start working on it, we get a call saying, oh, this year it's fantastic. So they get heads up before we do.
What are your tips for auditioning? Move around as you learn the lines and get someone to test you out loud. Never learn them lying in bed silently in your head.